Hi everyone, this is Dr. Chhoda and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer and a subscriber. The dynamic politically in the country has shifted, but let's be clear, and these are the words of Mitt Romney. President Trump is the 900-pound gorilla in the Republican Party. In fact, you'll see an interview right now on CNN, and Jake Tapper from CNN was interviewing Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut. And Chris Murphy said that President Trump essentially controls the Republican Party and will continue to control the Republican Party for the next 4 years. So he basically said that, President Trump is still in charge, even though he's no longer the president of the United States. And in another interesting part of the interview, Jake asked him about how the Democrats did, because let's be clear, the Democrats did not do as well as they had hoped, as well as a lot of people had hoped. There was no blue wave. In fact, the Democrats lost seats in the House. They were projected to gain seats in the House and potentially gain a Senate majority. But guess what? They don't have a Senate majority. Right now, at the time I'm recording this, it's 48 Democrats and 48 Republicans in the Senate, and Alaska and North Carolina. Those incumbents are projected to hold on to their Senate seats, which would give the Senate majority, which would allow Republicans to retain the Senate majority. This is an unusual situation in which the incumbent president is projected to lose the election while the Republicans maintain control of the Senate 50 to 48. Now, keep in mind, if the Georgia Senate runoff races go the way of the Democrats, then the Democrats would be at 50, Republicans would be at 50, and then the tiebreaker would be Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. So that is just an interesting continuum. That is an interesting dynamic that exists right now. In fact, Chris Murphy was specifically asked by Jake Tapper about whether President-elect Joe Biden can actually get things done with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, because, the two may not see eye to eye. They definitely are not going to come to a consensus about a large stimulus package. They could come to a consensus about a lean and quick stimulus package, especially now that the vaccine has been announced, especially now that, the stock market has surged, especially now that the optimism is gradually increasing. It could have been overblown. We'll find out in the next few days and next few weeks. But now the Senate Majority Leader can make a stronger case for a smaller stimulus package. And then therefore it becomes much more important if you are a Democrat. And by the way, these are words from Chris Murphy that we're about to see right now. It becomes much more important to win those 2 Senate seats in Georgia for Democrats. In fact, you know what Chuck Schumer said. Chuck Schumer said, we win Georgia, we win the world. In fact, let's take a look at Chuck Schumer again with his rather interesting comment about we win Georgia, we win the world.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change the world. Yeah!
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Mr. Schumer?
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America. Now we take Georgia, and then we change the world. Yeah!
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Mr. Schumer?
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
So now let's go to Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut, and let's see what he had to say to CNN's Jake Tapper today about, President Trump's influence, President Trump's massive influence, not only in the present, but in the future of the Republican Party, despite the fact that we have President-elect Biden. The importance of cooperation between President-elect Joe Biden and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, the importance of winning the Republican Senate seats, and also about what's likely to happen going forward, the future direction, if you will, of the Democratic Party. Let's roll the tape and see what Chris Murphy had to say.
Was cast, but also not to cast any votes that were fraudulently cast or illegally cast, and we have a legal process to determine what's legal and what isn't.
Now, the Trump campaign has not put anything forward that we have seen as a credible evidence of widespread fraud that Republican election lawyers like Ben Ginsburg say should be taken seriously or would change the outcome in any state. What's your response to your colleagues, not the 4 who have acknowledged reality, but the others?
This isn't Florida in 2000. This isn't a couple hundred votes. This is tens of thousands of votes. And absent any evidence of fraud or mishandling of the vote, the president needs to concede. And I think what you're seeing from most of my Republican colleagues is just the reality within the Republican Party today. The reality within the Republican Party is that Donald Trump runs it. He ran it for the last 4 years, and he's going to run it for the next 4 years. And so Republicans, by and large, don't want to get on the wrong side of this president because they still operate in fear of him and what he could do to their political future. Unfortunately, that that is the modern Republican Party. Now, there are real consequences, as you have talked about, regarding the president's lack of concession, because we need to get about the business of transition. It's complicated. It involves American national security to make sure that there's a smooth transfer of power. And if that cannot happen, then that puts our nation's security at risk.
Yesterday on Twitter, you said that a lame duck White House could lead to, quote, President Trump's post-defeat rage and the possible firings of Defense Secretary Mark Esper, CIA Director Gina Haspel. Now that Esper has been fired, and to be fair, Jonathan Swan from Axios wrote that this might happen about a week or so ago, so I'm not giving you credit for your prognostication. But now that Esper has been fired, what's your reaction?
It's unexpected, and it might not be the end of this purge. The president is furious, and he likely has others in the national security infrastructure in his sights. Our adversaries are watching. Our adversaries are looking at the potential vulnerability of U.S. national security, and they may take action. I think about a country like China, who may want to take the next logical step with respect to a crackdown in Hong Kong, may want to do something even more provocative, like take a run at one of the disputed islands off their coast. And in doing so, they may believe that they could gain an advantage because there is no defense secretary. There may not be a CIA director. The president may decide not to respond to their actions abroad, and then by the time that Joe Biden is sworn in, it may be too late to reverse those very escalatory and disturbing actions. So I think we have to watch for all of that.
I have to, we have to acknowledge here, even though President Trump lost the presidential election and Joe Biden won, the Republican Party is clearly still very popular in much of the country. They gained at least 8 seats in the House. They held on to key seats in the Senate. And depending on what happens in Georgia, they might maintain control of the Senate. This election was not an embrace of democratic or progressive values. What went wrong for your party?
Oh, I don't think anything went wrong. We beat a president maybe in the end by 7 million votes. We gained seats in the Senate. Listen, this is a divided country. There's no doubt about it. And to get anything done in Washington in the next 2 years, you're going to have to reach out across the aisle. And, our intention is to try to do that. The only way you're going to get a coronavirus relief bill done is with Republicans and Democrats supporting it, for instance. So I don't think that it's any surprise. We did, we won more seats than we lost across the board. And ultimately, we're going to have to govern together with Republicans.
I'm going to push back a little here, Senator. Joe Biden won the presidency by a big margin, and your party picked up 1 seat in the Senate. You lost the race in Maine. You lost the race in Iowa. You lost the race in Montana. I could go on and on. You lost the race in North Carolina. Schumer thought he was going to be the majority leader, and he's not. Obviously something went wrong.
Well, I'm not sure a year ago that people thought that we would have had so many potential Senate seats in play. But let me humor you for a second, Jake, because I don't think you're wrong. We should do an assessment. We should always be doing assessments as a party about how we can be better. President Trump, from the White House over the last 4 years, was able to sort of maintain a status of an outsider. And Democrats, I believe, are the party of reform. We're the party of real top-down economic reform. We're the party of reform to our democracy. And I think we have to be much more vocal in those policies that are going to dramatically alter the nature of our economy or are going to put voters back in charge rather than big donors of our government. And I think the president has been successful in being the anti-status quo party. The Democrats should hold that mantle, and we've got to do a better job of explaining why over the next 2 to 4 years.
Biden has a history of making deals with McConnell. A lot, of course, has changed in the past 4 years. How much of Biden's agenda do you think can really get done if Republicans keep control of the Senate, which seems possible, if not likely?
Well, I do think it's really important that we win these 2 seats in Georgia. I know that folks may, think that that's a long shot. I don't agree. I think that there are a lot of voters who voted for Joe Biden in Georgia who are going to want to give him a chance to actually implement his agenda. And my belief is that, well, you are right that Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden have a history of working together, that it is probably more likely than not that Mitch McConnell is going to stand in the way of much of that agenda. So I think we have a chance to litigate that question in Georgia coming up in early January, and in the meantime try to put pressure on McConnell to, at the very least, make sure that Joe Biden gets the opportunity to put a cabinet in place.